Hello and welcome to this fourth series of online teaching initiatives. This is the fourth webinar that is being organized by Open Forum for Principals for educators from and outside Mumbai. Today, our host for this webinar is New Horizon Public School, Airoli. Before I get into what is the webinar all about, let me first wish all of you a very happy Teachers' Day. Today is 5th September, celebrating the birthday of the great personality, Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan sir. On his birthday, we celebrate Teachers' Day. So welcoming all of you and congratulating you for this day. Happy Teachers' Day again. I will invite our founder chairperson of Open Forum for Principal to please give the welcome address for the gathering. But before that, let me give a little background as to what is the purpose of today's series that we have. Today, we are going to focus on initiative, innovation, and inquiry. If you see, the inquiry in the context is more to do with the simple connotation of asking whether we are able to know what is national education policy, whether we are able to understand what it implies, how does it going to impact our performances, whether it is going to really benefit the students, is what is the focus going to be. Under this online teaching initiative, this is the second webinar that we're having on national education policy. And I'm very proud to have great panelists with us for this online panel discussion. This panel discussion will be followed by a special, exciting and interesting activity by our very own Mrs. Revati Srivasan ma'am, who is also the Chief Convener India of Open Forum for Principals. I once again invite Dr. Tushar Guha sir, the Chairman and founder of Open Forum for Principals. He's also the founder of Nityanjali Group. Dr. Guha is very well known to all of us, and it would be nice to have a welcome address from him, helping us understand and take this webinar forward. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
To all of us, everyone in today's platform, we are all educators. So let us pat ourselves that we are doing yeoman service to society. You know, I have been delivering a lot of motivational lectures throughout the country for the corporate world, for the health workers, for education, parents and all that. But somewhere where you are calling the health people are the warriors of pandemic, but we are the warriors of pandemic because we are keeping the other side, you know, compact, spirited, and that is where we all come in. Under this topic that of online initiative, we had started this out because OAP's primary principle is of sharing knowledge. And that is what exactly we are doing, because all of us know that we have been brilliant teachers, but in classroom situations. Online teaching is absolutely different. And each one of us had to get groomed. We had to get groomed. I remember on the first online teaching thing, I had said that, you know, where we are supposed to look as a teacher. We are not supposed to look at the screen, but we are supposed to look at the camera. Because now, me as a performing artist, I know if you look at the camera, then the audience feels that you're looking at them. But if you look at the audience, then they feel your eyes are closed. So the eye contact becomes a typical thing which comes in and which it suits my PhD research, you know, utilizing the elements of performing arts in day-to-day life. How true it is today on this online teaching also. We have a full-fledged committee, those of you who do not know much about OFP. And I felt very thrilled 2 days back when Girish Jalvi sir gave me the list of the panelists. Nicholas sir, who is hosting the program today, New Horizon Public School. He is very close to my heart. Suresh sir is our head of Maharashtra OFP. So obviously we are working together, but both Arpita ma'am and Dr. Rege ma'am, I was so excited hearing that you all are going to be here because I share very unique relationship. I think all of us share unique relationship with everyone, each one of us. So Arpita madam has been my student for years, and somebody to whom I look up to a lot, because what are we teachers? When our students are excellent, we teachers become effective. We get certificate. And Kamini ji, I cannot forget the several associations of, because the spirited, the humorous, forever smiling, and with tremendous knowledge, because it comes to me, I always believe every teaching has to be joyful learning. And I don't believe this is for pre-primary and primary. I have been doing it even for the IS officers, because in each one of us, there's a child hiding, and that's where I connect to you. And you know, then I found our very own Revati Srinivasan madam, who is the convener of OFP India. She is also going to give us some kind of an activity. Revati ma'am, I am very excited because you come out with novel ideas. Now you will tell me, Dr. Guha, you're giving me jitters, but you are far beyond it. So I feel so thrilled. Then I find Lata ma'am, who is a committee member, is also anchoring today's program along with Girish sir. Then I find Deepa Desai madam, who is another committee member, is giving the vote of thanks today. So I said, oh my God, I'm finding the whole family today present, because usually it always happens that everybody cannot be together. It's not that, but we get some engagement. And you know, today webinars are happening per day, at least 15. So somewhere we have to keep on attending, and therefore we miss out on all. So this is a rare occasion where we are almost the entire OFP is present. So I felt very, very excited, and I knew today being a special day because it's a teacher's day. I think all of us, right from 8:30 in the morning, we have always, all of us have been very, very occupied. In the morning today, I mean, Ajit Balan sir is here. In his school, I was the guest speaker to the teachers, and I had a beautiful session with them. And naturally, each one of us had. And after that, still we are, look, the kind of energy each one of us had exuded. Whole day, and majority of your ladies, mind you. So you have cooked, and you have done your BJP. What is BJP? Bartan Jharu Pocha. You have done all that. And you have looked after your families, and those of you that are having children, unke online classes, everything you did, yet you are here. And that too in your glamorous presentation. You know, each one of you is giving me so much of thrill. Every lady, my God, how wonderfully fashionable you are. And we men are also no less. We are also equally equipped. Why have I spoken about that? Because today is our day. Today is our pride. And thank you that all of us have got together, and I welcome each one of us. I'm saying us because we are not this side or that side. We are always one side. Our batting, cricket also happens out with one team only. There is no question of an opposition team because we are just one. So thank you that we have come together. It proves my OFP as the platform where we all come together to share whatever little we have, and each one of us getting enriched, whatever little others have, into whatever little we have, we join them. Thank you so much and welcome. We shall have a very, very lively panel discussion. And as I said, Revati ma'am's surprise, because she always have a number of things hidden under her pallu, under her achal. So that's going to be unfolded gradually. So thank you so much and most welcome. Let's begin.
Thank you so much, sir. That was a wonderful start. As sir rightly said, yes, OFP is meant for bringing the leaders together, because we believe in the shower principle, where if the leader is ready, the institution is ready to take on new challenges and new innovations. Moving ahead, before getting into the panel discussion, I will once again request Dr. Nicholas Kuria sir to also address the gathering as the host school and welcome everybody for the webinar. Dr. Nicholas Kuria sir. Sir, you have to unmute yourself. Nicholas, sir, you have to unmute yourself.
Good evening, everyone, all the management gurus, educators, and teachers. There's a small line in the scripture. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us be glad and rejoice. So when we rejoice, we spread happiness. Being educators and being teachers and management gurus, our primary duty is to enjoy what we do and spread happiness. That is where students learn. That is where students learn and enjoy our company. When they enjoy our company, learning automatically takes place. I was really overwhelmed to listen to the words of Dr. Tushar Guha, the way he took out each and every name. So it is, I'm not in a position to take each and every name now. Credit goes to you, Tushar sir. I think you remember each and every name. That shows that each and every person is close to your heart. And that is what each and every teacher has to do, because the moment teacher knows the names of the students, students feel engaged in the class and they feel belonging to the class. Otherwise, they feel away from the class. So this is what you have made all of us to feel part of the group. So on behalf of New Horizon Public School, Airoli, Navi Mumbai, I welcome each and every one of you for this wonderful webinar with wonderful and learned gurus, educators, and teachers. I also would like to wish each and every one of you a very, very happy Teachers' Day. May God bless your professions and all your aspirations and dreams come true. Let your children become wonderful citizens of this country and shine in life as you also shine in life. Thank you so much. God bless you all.
Thank you, sir. It was wonderful. Yes, today is the day again to begin a new journey. Every year, this day is supposed to be marked as a day to begin something interesting in life. Taking forward, let me now move on to our main task, that is the panel discussion. Of course, we have a beautiful activity later, which our Chief Convener India, Madam Revati Srinivasan ma'am, will be taking up. For that, of course, you all need to have a paper and a pen or a pencil to participate and enjoy the game. So keep it ready, handy. So the moment we start with her game later, we are all there to play it and not just watch it. Let me give a premise of what are we going to talk about in today's panel discussion before we move on to our panel members. We are basically going to focus on the National Education Policy 2020. The aim of the policy is about engagement, productivity, and contribution as able citizens. This is what we are looking from our students. But what is it that we get in return as a society, as a nation? So the nation is looking at building equitable, inclusive, and plural society. That is the whole objective. It seems to be a very vast subject, but definitely without engagement, without productivity, and without individual contribution, I guess that cannot be possible. To understand that much better, we thought, why not understand what is innovation, what is inclusion, and instead of having the I inquiry, we used E inquiry because we believe I inquiry is more about the technical part, but here we are looking at, going beyond that and looking at the intangibles as to how do we do it. And that is why we are looking at our 4 panel members as one who is representing the head of the school, that is our Dr. Nicholas Kuria sir, a school representative like Dr. Suresh Nair sir, who today is more as a convener than the principal of a school, who will give a different perspective to this whole idea. And we have Dr. Kamini Rege ma'am, who will be talking on behalf of higher education as a facilitator. Of course, her experience goes wider beyond the higher education. She works with number of associations across India and abroad to take up pre-primary education also extensively, because she believes we need to start from there. But today we will be looking at how she looks as a higher education facilitator. And of course, when our children go out, it's very important that they are the right product for the industry that the industry is looking for. And that is why we requested Dr. Arpita Ghosh ma'am to talk about what it means for a corporate when he or she looks at the education system. And this is a panel that we can see. With me to have the discussion, I have Dr. Lata Venkat ma'am, Principal of KG Seksaria Sarvodaya School, and also the committee member of Open Forum for Principals. Over to you, Latama. Yes, Latama. Is Lata ma'am? Yeah, unmute yourself, Lata.
Yeah, 1 second.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Good evening, everyone. Wish you all a very happy Teachers' Day once again. Indeed, a pleasure to spare some time on this auspicious day with educators from various fields and, of course, our very own Dr. Tushar Guha. Starting with the panel discussion, as Girish sir has already given you an insight, it will be more connected to the National Education Policy. I proceed with my first question to Dr. Suresh Nair. Dr. Suresh Nair has been representing schools of KP West as the chief convener for many years now. Sir, there have been challenges, opportunities, and initiatives that you have been carrying along with your group and have been working upon them successfully all these years. Post the pandemic and after the NEP 2020, my question to you would be, have you as the convener been able to bring your group together and work? Please do share with us some of the independent, innovative ideas your ward came up with pre and post COVID. Over to you, Suresh, sir.
Good evening, all of you. First of all, I wish all of you a very, very happy Teachers' Day. And I'm thankful to OFP, though I am part of it, Dr. Tushar Guha, and of course the host principal for giving me an opportunity to talk today. First of all, as Girish sir said, that we are talking about mainly aiming about the National Education Policy 2020. We used to say that the education is aiming to produce future citizens of tomorrow. But if you really go through NEP 2020, it will be, you can notice that we are not going to produce the citizens of tomorrow. Tomorrow, we will be producing the citizens of today itself. And as per with regards to the questions which have been asked to me, that what, of course, see, madam, there are many challenges as a convener, which we normally come across to mobilize the resources. And see, I will tell you one thing. As per the new, new Education Policy 2020, pairing of school and integration of sharing of resources across the schools to be done. That comes as a part of, the inclusive education. Earlier, we used to say the inclusive education means that those people who have some physically handicapped people or challenged people to be inclusively taken into the education system. But this very clearly says it is not only for the people who are having, the students who are having the challenges and all. We have to have consider the schools which are not having the infrastructure, all the infrastructure properly. They also can be included into the system. For example, I will tell you, we have on Independence Day, we have done a virtual Independence Day program in which I have included 5 students from 5 different schools of my Goregaon area. In that, I consider that they could not do it, or they cannot do it on an individual basis. So I have talked to the principals of those schools, and they have agreed, sir, definitely means we are not able to do on our own. So yeah, I don't mind. Yeah, anyway, I'm doing it, and I have to include them also. So that also can be considered as a pairing of schools and integration and sharing of resources. Whatever I have, I can share it. I'm not going to lose anything. Instead, I can gain something from them also. The program went very well. And now, as far as for example, this online admission of Standard 11, that is FIJC. Now, almost 90% of the 11th admission, of course, 11th admission is going on online since last 10 years. But that is only the government allotment. But everything into the individual colleges, it was used to be the offline. But this year, more than 90%, even I have asked with many people also, it is going online. I have not been to the college since last so many years, and my teachers also. But still, my admission work is going on very smoothly. Like that, other schools are also doing it. Some are having website and all, and that some are having Google Form. Whatever it may be, is with whatever facilities we can have it. But everybody is doing it. So that is also again that we are doing it almost, you can say that post-pandemic. Though pandemic is still going on, even post-pandemic also we will be. According to me, this condition has to be there for even for some more years. Also will come, or the years to come. We will have to conduct this online process only of the many of the classes, also lectures, also etc. And many schools are conducting or celebrating the festivals and all online without any problem. See, for example, I can just send you the Sriram Welfare School of Andheri has conducted competitions for the Onam festival, the Rangoli, flower Rangoli. They have done it on online basis, and it has come very nicely. And she has shared so many things. So the question of conducting many things or competitions or celebrating the festivals and all. Even today we have conducted the virtual Teachers Day program. Many of the schools have conducted without having any problems. So it can be done. So there may be challenges. And of course, challenges, we used to face it even the offline process also. That is particularly in doing the government work like Saral Data or student portal, all that things. But that has also become, because earlier we used to do everything in the school itself. Nowadays the teachers are doing it from their home. So it's not a big problem, can be done, everything can be done. And this WhatsApp group or any other group, because see, online education also many people are doing it in a different way. For example, some are using the Google Classroom, some are using Microsoft Teams, some are using Zoom. We are using, so it depends upon the capacity or the infrastructure the school is having it. So every challenge has been faced by the school by different way. But one way or the other, we are getting some opportunities to know, particularly during this pandemic. Many of our teachers, many of the principals have become tech savvy, I can say. Earlier, majority of the teachers used to say, we don't know anything. Even I am not so much tech savvy. But nowadays, even I can also do something. Or similarly, the teachers also can do something for the students by sitting at home. So that gives a very good initiative of taking something new on the from the teacher side.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. So one small question again, since I too share an aided school like you. How do you deal with the online problem? Basically, issues with children not having technical gadgets, or those who cannot those who cannot be streamlined into the online process. What about the laws for those students? How are you covering that?
Time being, madam, we don't have a solution for it, because I have come across with the same situation, exactly the same situation. My school also, around 60% of the students are only attending. I have engaged with the teachers, I have engaged with the parents also. So there are 2-3 problems. One problem is that they don't have the gadgets. Of course, they can even use the smartphone and all. But another problem, the connectivity. The big problem is connectivity. And another main problem is that majority or many of the parents have lost the job, and they have gone to their native place wherein they don't have all these things. So for them, the food is the main thing and not the education at this moment of time. That's correct also as a parent. So I have thought of an idea that let this pandemic get over. When they come back, definitely we can consider them separately. Because otherwise, I cannot distribute any of the gadgets to them for doing this. But then at the same time, if I think that the 100% people should come for the online education and all, and in that case, I will be just leaving this 60%. So better, what I thought, that 60% should be taken care of right now, and the 40% will be taken care of whenever we get an opportunity. Definitely, we'll take care of that.
Wonderful, sir. Thank you so much. Over to you, Girish, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Lata ma'am. So this is the last question from me. As a convener, what is it that you are doing beyond your school to help your ward schools? What do you do? What are you currently doing?
The main aim or the objective, the work of a convener, according to me, is to pass on the informations time to time to the principals or the heads of the institution. That's what I was doing it before also. Of course, as I've said earlier, that we have a group of email. Earlier, we used to have email system that to without getting that official offline GR or circular, we never used to do. But nowadays, nobody is asking for the offline circular. Everything is coming through this WhatsApp, this one or mail. And even mail is also not that much important. WhatsApp is there, so everybody gets solved. And sir, we have another system of been passing the information through the voicemail. So that also will be helping me a lot too, because immediately the message will come. Definitely it will come through from the government department, but at the same time, I as a convener, it's my duty also to see that each and every teacher, I mean the principals are informed about the thing on time, so that see there of course the government requirement will come last moment. See, just tomorrow is the last date, and today everything is to be done. And there are so many things to be done. So it's very difficult for a principal to be done. And again, principal himself or herself will not be able to do all the things. They have to depute this duty to the teachers concerned. So again, it will take time. So that, but the government will not know, or I mean, the department will not know that it is your responsibility. As a principal, it is your responsibility. So it is, as a main convener, it is my responsibility to inform the people concerned, principal concerned, and in turn that the principals can inform the teachers also, and the work will be done. And it is being done. Of course, cannot expect 100% result from any of the things. So, but still, quite a good way. It's going on very well.
That is true, sir, because the kind of school that your ward has have much more challenges, and in that also you all are very positive as a group that we have been seeing. Coming to Kamini Rege ma'am, our next panel member, again somebody who has been working extensively in the field of education. My question to you, ma'am, is that the policy is talking about encouraging innovation and out of the box ideas through autonomy, good governance, and empowerment. Do you think it is equally suitable for higher education to implement that? Because most of the time, the students who come are larger in number in a classroom and come from a very diverse background. And at this age, they're already into diverse, influences. So how do you look at it? Over to you, Kamini.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Girish sir. First of all, I would like to really thank the Open Forum for Principals to invite me for this session. I would like to really congratulate all the panelists who are there for being and making me a part of this wonderful conversation that you are having. All the participants who are listening to me. I have kind of tried to make a short presentation, probably that may answer your question. In case if I have not been,
Yes.
we will go ahead with responding to your question once again.
Sure.
However, I would like to show you, I mean, I'm sure everybody is aware of this proverb, you know. So I would only want to change here the concept of man to a child, because give a child a fish and you feed him for a day, and teach a child. This is what I think the national policy, national education policy has really looked into or thought of, you know, of making this change, this entire transition. However, it's not going to be easy, because we are in a situation of 10+2, and we are suddenly being asked to kind of shift to 5+3+3+4. So it's going to be a little challenging. It's not going to be easy. It's not an easy jump for any educationist, any schools, especially where we already know that there are 36 to 38 boards across India for these kind of changes to happen. Yes, Girish sir, I know you've asked me for the question on higher education, but I would look at it because I'm also from the field of early childhood education, and I'm also teaching that subject. I think it has to be the foundation years. If they are strong, it's easy for the later lives. Otherwise, it's going to be much tougher for the later lives. And probably last 30-40 years, we've been experiencing this 10+2 system, which we see that it's more on the basis of rote learning and only, you know, drilling students, which is not what is helping today. Many a times we find at the age of 40s and 50s that the adults are changing their profession because this is not something that they ever wanted to do and they want to change. So instead of waiting to that extent or that long, it is important that earlier the better it is. very importantly, I must say that I'm very happy with the national education policy, because they have considered the foundational years as the first 5 years, where these 5 years are inclusive of pre-primary education, or what we call it as early childhood years. And very interestingly, you will see on the slide that it's talking about multi-level play activity based learning. This is not just stopping there. The plus 3 years that we are talking about, the third, fourth, and fifth standard, also they are considering play, discovery, activity based, and interactive classroom. Middle stage also they are talking about experiential and experimental learning, and there they are also emphasizing on experiential and experimental learning through science, maths, and arts. Now, arts again was not a its arts is not only coloring and drawing. It includes all kinds of dance, music, everything is included. These are things which were already always covered under extracurricular activities. I'm glad that it has brought into the curriculum. The secondary education that I'm talking about, multidisciplinary, we have been talking. Now I'm coming to the university part of it, sir.
Yes.
Which was your question. We are currently also talking about having the CBGSC, that is the credit-based system. But practically, how many of us are following it? Because we are ultimately giving them a curriculum, which is a set curriculum, and we are expecting them to do those things which we want them to do. So it's not at all credit-based. We are saying it is credit-based system, but it is not so. We are firmly dividing as arts, science, commerce. So if a student who wants to do music history or maths history, the child has no option to do it. I think this is NEP which is helping. This NEP will help them. So when I'm saying that this has to go gradually from the foundation till the secondary or higher secondary education, that's when the flexibility and thinking will come into existence. It's going to be tough, no doubt about it, because it's not going to be easy. There are so many stakeholders to it. There are so many bifurcations to it. There's so many owners of organizations who will not want to give up easily. But yes, we have to remember that NEP also is talking about a lot what our own Indian teachers have taught. If you look at Rabindranath Tagore, he's talked about mother tongue, which has been a part of this NEP. We have experiential learning. We have all kinds of things that we have talked. All these teachers have given us these contributions, and I think it's a great work that at least they have given us some kind of a outline. Very rarely did we see use of. We've been talking about making our India technologically firm. But again, COVID has also taught us a lot in terms of use of technology. At one point in time where we used to tell students, don't use your mobile and phones in class, now we are telling them, please use them. So it's a trend that is changing. It's a need of the hour. I will only say that NEP, the National Education Policy, is a roadmap, sir. It's only a sketch that the educationists who have really sat and worked on it have given us a framework. It is up to us how we are going to, we here means the stakeholders who are going to color it, paint it, and make it beautifully so that frame becomes a lifetime exposure to people. And that lifetime exposure, that frame is going to be our children. Each child is going to be the frame, and that's what I think the NEP has given us the idea about it. So now from rote learning, they are also talking about learning, which was missing, because it was only a class teacher who would share. So it was teacher initiated. Probably NEP is giving us the child initiated aspect, which is again very important. I feel it's a torch. Definitely NEP is a torch right now to give us access to a lot of specializations, disciplines, making it interdisciplinary, and so on and so forth. However, these transformations will take its own challenge. Yes, the teachers, the parents, the adults, the students, everybody will have to go through a change, and it's not going to be easy because challenges are going to be there. Acceptance, mission, motivation, all this is important, but all these stakeholders, including the district, state, department, education, members, people, teachers, students, community, everybody has to take it with a very positive stride where they have to be inspired to it. As I said, this is just a roadmap. There is lots to do in this context that's happening. There are a lot of fear in people, will our schools close down as we are not associated or we are not linked with schools? All those kind of things are happening. So it's not going to be an overnight shift. But what I see is by 2025, things will start moving in this practical position where layer by layer things will change. It's not going to be a complete change because it's not practically possible for the entire infrastructure and the teacher training and everything. It will be otherwise like COVID situation, which we had in the first 3 months. We do not want to go into it. If we want really a good framework, we've taken 40 years to continue with this system. So if this system also has to grow out, then it's important that we have to seep in slowly and the right methods have to be taken. We will have to also do a lot of research on those areas where we see that what are the shortfalls at that point in time, so that those can be rectified there and then, rather than waiting for another 40 years and coming up with another national education policy. The fact that national education policy came into existence was that there was some error in the education system. Otherwise, nobody would have thought. But now that we have come up with this, and this is one important, beautiful draft that we have, let's make the most of these, taking it layer wise rather than making the whole thing as a disrupted. This is what my opinion is, and I'm sure all the educationists will also think from that perspective, that we can't just uproot anything and start afresh.
I can see a lot of senior educators here nodding along with you, so which means the change is going to happen very well, actually. And I really liked the way you emphasized on, even if you are representing the higher education, but it has to start from the bottom level, at the beginning level, and the early childhood is the answer. And I think you will be one of the proud members because you have been fighting for it to get that kind of recognition and acceptance in the education policy, and today it has got. So congratulations to all your energies that you have given into it.
Thank you so much.
Before we move on to our next speaker, panel member, we'll have a short break. And that break is not going to be that we are again going to log out and log in, but we are actually going to have an exercise, a game, an activity, which is going to be, which I also don't know what it is, but I'm sure it is going to be exciting because it has been innovated, as the subject says, today in the morning, and been processed through a self-inquiry by our esteemed faculty and developed. So please be ready with your pens and your paper, and we will have our expert helping us understand and play that activity. So without much ado, let me tell you who she is and what she's going to do, not going to do, just who she is, and pass it on to her. That is our lovely Devti Srinivasan ma'am, who is the director of Srimati Sulochana Devi Singhania Group of Schools and our chief convener for Open for Principals. But more than that, a very, very honest educator. Over to you, Devti ma'am.
Thank you so much, Girish. I think it's always so wonderful to get back to OFP, getting to meet good friends, and that's what is really important. Thank you very much, Dr. Tushar Guha, and let me begin by saying a very, very happy Teachers' Day to all of you. We are what we are because we believe in what we are doing. That's what it is. So therefore, to each one of us, I think this Teachers' Day is very special. It's special in ways more than one. First of all, I think we have deviated from the usual ways of celebrating our Teachers' Day. There has been no pot lunches or lunches outside. There has been no physical meetings. There has been no dance and drama presented by the children face to face. We had it all online. And yet, at the end of the day, we are also well dressed, and all of us coming back, just like Dr. Guha said, bright and sprightly. And I was racking my brain this morning, wondering, what do I do? One, it is remote. And so I'm not sure how much of an activity or a game I can do. And I really thought, let me do an activity that connects to the topic that we are having for the day. And it is also about an activity for inquiry. So I thought, why not take all of us through the same process? This time, 5 months through, whatever challenges that we faced, we rose above it. We've drawn a curve. There's been a curve that we have drawn for ourselves with all the kind of challenges that we faced. Our priorities have changed. We are not thinking in terms of spending money. We're looking at the basic necessities. If I were to see, everything has changed. The way we are perceiving life has changed. The way we are perceiving workplace has changed. We are working from our homes now. Okay, so everything is so new. But what it is for a teacher, and I'm coming back to each one of you as a teacher. They say it is what it is, but it will be what you make of it. And I think that's what it is. We have all made education together. We have made it active, playful, joyful, and above everything, very meaningful in the last 5 months. Not just for our children, but for ourselves. So I always think that we have tried in all these 5 months, and this is my tribute to every teacher and the teaching fraternity as a whole, that when we try to bring the best version of ourselves and present it to the world, you inspire others to present the best version of themselves. And that is how we've all had the best version of ourselves. So today, I know many of us are far more experienced than I would be talking to a group of teachers. So I'm here talking to a lot of educationists, and that's how I'd like to put it. Some of you would be having 10 years plus, some 20 years plus, and some 30 years plus of experience. But do we spend our time with ourselves? So I'm going to make you do that exercise of trying to spend time with yourself. I will request you to shut your eyes for a minute. When I finish my conversation, I'll ask you to open your eyes. So I'm going to take you back to your college and beyond. Let's walk together to see the beautiful life that we all led and continue to lead, of course. And just think about the moments that you've had in choosing your career. What made you become a teacher? You can keep the thoughts in your mind, and if you think you can't, then you can write it down, but otherwise you can keep the thoughts in your mind. When we started on this travel and this journey, we carried with us a suitcase. From wherever we studied and from our own homes, we carried a suitcase. That suitcase contained a lot of things. What did we have in our suitcase then? And as we kept year after year that we moved on, we added something more in our suitcases. And that was the luggage that you actually brought on. Again, years passed by, you grew not just in your age, but also in your experience and the experiences that you had as an educationist. Imagine you're still carrying the suitcase. What did you leave behind? If you have to load new things, you had to unload something. What did you unload from your suitcase? After you have unloaded your suitcase, you may have felt a little lighter, yet the new situation is such that you had to unload again, and you loaded again. What is it that you unloaded? Now, where do you think you're going? What is your destination? Over the years, you would have been a little tired. How are you going to refuel yourself, your energy? How do you feel now? Do you think you have a mission and a mission to write about now in the current circumstances? And as a visionary educationist, how is it that you're going to see it further? Kindly open your eyes very gently. Did you see a young girl or boy in pigtails coming out of school and college? Did you see a nice large suitcase that had so many dreams in it? Did you see a suitcase full of energy bursting to open up to the world outside? Did you see a sudden thrill and excitement about doing little things? Did you see the strength you had in doing 100 things at the same time? And from that pigtails and from that moment of being so young, energetic, you stepped into this world of education. Did you lose your energy? You may have spent it, but you didn't lose it. There is a difference in that. But you re-energized yourself. And did your suitcase become lighter when you tried to offload? Yes, it became. And what did you leave behind? What did you offload? You offloaded your old mindset of what teaching is. You offloaded your assumptions that children are like this, education is like this board is like this, and everything. Okay? And now, this is what I would like to say for myself. Like this, each one of you would have dreamt of something and, carried your suitcase, whatever, however heavy it has been, by yourself. So it should be not more than 10% of your weight of yourself. Okay, you remember that's what the NEP says. The child's bag cannot be 10% more than the weight of the child. So we follow the same philosophy because we are all children. If you're not a child and there's no child within you, inside you, you cannot be a teacher. So let's do that. I'm not asking anyone to share their ideas, but I would ask you to, I'm giving you 5 minutes to write your mission statement. I'm not asking for a vision statement, but for a mission statement. This mission statement is for you. Considering the fact that you have carried the baggage, you have offloaded, you have onloaded, and you have crossed all the barriers that you had in the last 5-6 months. As I said, it was what it was, but you made it what you wanted to be. So what did you do? So what is your mission statement? And just write that in one sentence, or even just scattered words is fine. But I'll tell you why I'm making you write that. I'm giving you just about 2-3 minutes, not more than that.
We can all type it in the chat box also.
Oh, yes, that would be wonderful. I got the first one from Girish, but I won't read it out right now so that it doesn't influence others' thoughts. Oh. Thank you, Dr. Arpita. Thank you, Rekha ma'am. Just a minute more. It's your life we are talking about, and you travel the journey with me. Thank you, Lata ma'am. Thank you, Anana. Dr. Kamini, that's beautiful. She's given a long one.
Thank you.
Dr.
It was all going on in the mind.
Yeah, I'm sure. Thank you, Balnaz. Thank you, Seema.
I don't know. I am not savvy. I can't type. So I want to tell you that be happy, contented, and peaceful.
Yes.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank
It
you.
is all.
Thank you, everyone. You can please keep typing it in the chat box, and while we move ahead with our next session. Thank you, Revati ma'am, for the wonderful
thank you.
feeling. Yeah, you were saying something.
Girish, I just want to wind up on this note.
Sure, please. Ma'am.
What you have typed out as your mission is what is your purpose in life. That defines the purpose of education as well. So while you're doing the mission in education or for yourself, you have actually defined the mission in life for you and the purpose. Now slowly get back home. When you get back home, or you are at home, but get back from this room, you must think, what was your original mission and how did it change? Who impacted these changes? What impacted these changes? And why were you impacted? Because all the mission statements that I see are beautiful. It is not for oneself. Every mission statement that I see is for the welfare and goodness of others. And that's what NEP talks about. NEP talks about inclusion. NEP talks about empowerment. And NEP talks about the purpose, true purpose of education. That is to bring out the best of the potential in every child. Thank you.
Thank you, Rekha ma'am.
Girish,
Revati ma'am, sorry.
May I?
Yes, Arpita ma'am.
No, I mean, since we were with this activity and I thought before we really wind up, if I can, few lines that I've written, I would just like to sing it out. I think for all of us over here, this is.
Yes.
So, and especially since I know Sir appreciates art so much.
Yes.
So, okay, I'm going to sing it out. We are educators by profession. Oh, teaching is our passion. Oh, creating a future generation who's confident, responsible, and resilient. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Arpita
you.
ma'am. Beautiful.
Wonderful.
Girish sir, am I permitted to make 2 points
Yes,
for the
yes,
previous
yes.
discussions? Then just very quickly, one about NEP. As Dr. Rege was saying, there is another side to NEP that the government has planned that all our students will not have to go to the other countries to join the foreign universities. It is planned that India is going to have campuses of these foreign universities. And the most beautiful part is, because I'm involved in that, that there will be a buffer system arranged where a team of people are being selected. I'm in consultation with this Rajya Sabha member, where the Indian values and the Indian teaching methods that have come, we will be there's a group of people who will be balancing as a buffer system with this foreign universities and Indian education system plus Indian culture. This is one part I wanted to share because I have been interacting. I thought this is a very beautiful forum for all of us to know. The other point I wanted to make is about Suresh sir and Lata ma'am, as they said, is how do we, with the 40% of students who do not have the access in Assam, Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, even in Kerala, there are those who are absolutely below the line, where there is midday meals. What the teachers have been doing is they've been joining with the midday meals and giving the parents questions, and the parents are taking it, and then parents are bringing back those answer papers, which the teachers are again correcting. So this is another method they have, this is another process they have started, where this technicalities, it's beyond them. The children and the parents can't even afford a mobile, or the Wi-Fi things are not there. This is another process that is happening, because I'm constantly interacting with this kind of people as to how the teachers are continuing to impart lessons. Maybe it is in a limited manner, and I really appreciated Suresh sir's approach that the 40% we shall take special care of them after the 6 months or after 8 months. Thank you. So that's all.
Thank you, sir.
Sir,
Before we move
sir,
on
one
to
second.
our, yeah.
No, Tushar sir, exactly like what is happening in Kerala or Tamil Nadu. I mean, if our government also does the the online teaching through TV, then
Yeah.
I think almost every small house also has got TV, so it can be done without any
absolutely.
break in the system.
True.
But that has to be taken care of by the government, not from our side.
Absolutely.
But Suresh sir, Doordarshan is already having a time slot.
No, sir, only Marathi medium. Sir, only Marathi medium.
Okay.
No,
I get your point.
Consider everybody has to be. When we consider everybody should be taken care of.
Multilingual, that's what you're talking about.
Yes,
what
yes,
also
yes,
talks. Yes, I got your point.
But that may
Thank you.
be practically a lot of difficulties will come, because each school will have their own approach of teaching. Each teacher. So those are the issues. Anyway,
Yes.
let's see.
Okay.
So
Thank
when
you.
Revzi ma'am was doing this exercise and she told us to unload certain things and only keep it 10%, my only cautionary statement to this is that we all will be unloading it as per our weight. Let's take into account our students also and pass it on as per their weight, the weight that we want to transfer as teachers, and not the weight that we already have, the 10% of our weight. So that's what it's on a lighter side. I'm just sharing it. Moving on to you, Lata ma'am.
Thank you, Girish sir.
Yes.
Let's move on with our panel discussion. Arpita ji, the next on the line is you. We look at you as someone who helps young adults fill the gap they have between learning and application, be it the tangible or intangible gaps. Why do you think these gaps are there, and will implementing life skills in school prepare them better with minimum gaps? Over to you, ma'am.
Well, thank you very much for having me here. And yes, talking about the missing link. In fact, education, if you look at success for that matter, it's not just about academics. It's about our entire personality. It's about the skills that we learn. And given the current situation we are in, these things are coming up more in the open, that we have to now be aware of learning these skills. Because I am dealing with, like you rightly said, the young adults, anxiety attack, panic attack, fear of this uncertainty. It is so much in them. And this is what, gets translated in their confidence when they are actually sitting in front for an interview. Not only that, if we have to look at our education system also today, like I was talking to some of our alumni, and they just happened to mention that, ma'am, we are studying, we are doing theory, but application-oriented knowledge is not happening. So we need to look into these areas and bridge the gap, because that is again another complaint which is coming from the corporates too, that we are not getting job-ready candidates. Now, what also happens is, as we are all aware, everything needs to happen at the grassroots level. Because by the time we grow up as adults, our mindset is very different. To change the mindset, it's not so easy. So if we start incorporating certain life skills, because values, life skills, these have to come in during our growing years. If we have to build resilience, that resilience has to go back at that particular level. Like, when we've lost or broken a toy, which is like, so close to our heart, how do we help our children to deal with that hurt? How do we teach our children to deal with that pain? So it's not about just going to the shop and picking up a new toy and say, okay, forget that. Because as they start growing older, how do they deal with disappointments? And today, this current situation has, made us face to face with such situations where some of us are not able to cope with it. So I think we need to look into these life skills much way bigger, earlier in the school level. Looking at skills now, we have our first year UG students. Most of the subjects today, or rather most of the courses today, are dealing with analytics. We are all talking about technology. In fact, technology today has challenged all of us. I, for one, being into soft skill training, transformational change, could never imagine conducting a session online. Because I felt if I have to bring about a transformation, it has to be a personal connect. It has to be a face-to-face connect. But at 50 plus, I had to confront this entire barrier, break it, get comfortable with it. And today, 5 months down the line, I'm pretty much confident, and I have been able to create that kind of impact with my participants. So when I look at the soft skill sessions, now we have data analytics. So when we are devising the entire syllabus also, we have to keep in mind that these students, what are the kind of professions they're going to be taking up? These professions, what is it that they require along with technology? So one is the technical aspect of it, but technology without critical thinking, without creativity, without being innovative is not going to help us. So we have to develop this entire skill. Now, critical thinking just does not mean you critically think. It's a series of things that keep happening. It's about developing your observational skills. How do you observe? How do you collect that information through observation, analyze it, infer from it, come up with your own analysis, then you explain it, then comes the problem solving, and finally you make a decision as to what exactly needs to be done. So these things have to begin from the school level so that by the time they come up to the higher education, we are able to equip them better. Again, we talk about collaboration. Now, collaboration is something which we have to work, because we've also seen that we are now going to be encouraging a lot of multidisciplinary thing. And multidisciplinary, again, I come back to analytics, because talk about marketing, talk about your HR, talk about finance, whichever industry we are getting into, analytics is the key word. So again, when we are talking about analytics, we need to understand we've got to collaborate with each one. And I have been conducting these sessions, again, bringing in creativity and the expressive arts. So that helps students to understand. So we can't just talk to them about collaboration in big terms, but help them understand these things in a small way by doing. Because what I have understood is the more we do, the more we get into the experiential learning, better we understand, and it remains with us. That learning takes us in a long way. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Arpita ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
So if I have to say, submit a little bit precisely in a couple of words, it's more about developing the listening skills, and seeking help from others is okay. It's something that we need to groom our children into, to be more, collaborative, as well as think differently. Because once you seek help or seek guidance or listen to somebody else, you think differently, you get a different perspective. And that is what I think Arpita ma'am wants to stress upon. Coming to Nicholas sir, you are a last panel member, but a very important one, because as the leader of the school and leader of a couple of schools that you look into, how important do you think the NEP looks into the teachers, the faculty? Because it does mention about teachers and faculties being at the heart of the learning process. But then how do you look at their, working environment? How to make it more positive? Can you please share your views on that? Over to you, Nicholas sir.
Yes, good evening once again to everyone, and wish you all once again a very happy Teachers' Day. It's a wonderful question which you have posed now. If you see in our country, so far, like for centuries together, there was a great respect for teachers, and it was a legacy. If you see of late, last few decades, the respect for teachers is getting deteriorated because of various reasons. It's not that they don't deserve respect. They do deserve respect. They work hard. They're also professionally up to date. Yes, definitely they need various points of boosting. But what is lagging behind is focus on development of teachers. If you see earlier GDP, which was reserved for education, it was hardly around 1.6, 1.3 or 1.7. Now current education policy, that is NEP 2020, has proposed 6% of GDP. So here I can just visualize or dream. So definitely government is looking forward to professionally develop teachers' growth. Unless government looks forward growing teachers professionally, I don't think there will be any change. Currently, if you see, there is a lot of vertical growth. Maybe teachers are qualified, they're eligible. But when it comes to classroom teaching, when it comes to imparting, maybe transacting the instructions in the classroom, that is where they lag behind. The problem there is because our focus was on developing that vertical qualification, like we need to do B.Ed, we need to do D.Ed or M.Ed, thereafter we need to do M.Phil or PhD, we need to have higher degrees. That is important. But what is important, the horizontal growth. Along with that, we need to update ourselves, read, attend webinars like this, attend various training programs, update oneself through various ways, through interaction. Now, if you see in this, this NEP focuses on 21st century skills. The four skills, the four C's: communication, critical thinking, collaboration, and creativity. So this is focused so much, does not mean that earlier NCF 2005 or earlier policies did not stress on this, but NEP 2020 specifically emphasizes on this. That means they are very clear now. A teacher's development, professional development should be different and it should be focused. Now, if you come to in this sector, if you see, maybe it is in private schools or government schools, wherever it is. If you see, maybe except for the reputed schools or good schools or schools which can manage their funds, teachers are taken care of. But if you see overall, it is very difficult to meet the end. When one doesn't take care of herself, how she would take care of others? When she is unable to meet her own needs at family, she has to look for her own growth. So finance is very, very important. Funds are very important. Now even here, government also need to look into this and see how teachers' financial growth, professional growth, and other social growth also is taken care. I think if you see in this NEP that is proposed, it is looking very nice on the paper. But when it comes to implementation, I do not know how it would be. When it comes to now, if you see now recruitment, you mentioned about teachers' growth. Now, if you see, hardly few teachers, those who intend to become teachers now come for teaching job. Because the focus was so far, it was for medical or engineering or some of the streams. For last few decades, the focus was not for teachers or teachers' education. It was not for humanities. It was not for commerce. Today, we are not left with good teachers because the engineers, doctors, or CEs, other professionals, they do D.Ed, they do B.Ed, they do the bridge course, thereafter come into this professional profession and they become teachers. So they are, again, by choice, maybe sometimes certain compulsions have made them choose this profession. But what I want to say is, we need to choose that stream, so that focus should be given in the college level itself. Now, if you see in higher education, now along this, this is there, it is very clearly focused, teachers' educational growth. Now, even here, now there is a special NCF. Earlier it was only for school, NCF 2005. Now there would be a special NCF even for teachers training program. It is a welcome move. So government is also thinking of reforming teachers' education. It's not only just introducing quality training programs, but also the professional growth at the grassroots, at the training, at the graduation. So the moment they cross that 10th or 12th, those who want to become teachers, they should be very clear. If you see in CBSE, they have got this ECC. So they can, even in 10th, they can choose the skill subject. So even if you see now this vocational education is being introduced in this NAP, I don't know when it would be implemented, but it's a welcome move. There's a vocational education. There is no hardcore separation between vocational education, extracurricular, co-curricular. It is looking very nice on paper, but when it is implemented, I don't know how easy it would be. But whatever, having said that, so government has taken certain initiatives to reform education so that the physical education teachers should not be considered, okay, what is he doing on the ground, what she is doing on the ground. Even they are also very important, because unless we think, as Gandhiji says, the mental fitness and physical fitness should go together. So healthy mind in a healthy body, unless we look for healthy mind and healthy body together. So we need to focus on the vocational education, and this education policy is doing this, and teachers of all streams. It is not only core subject like languages, science, mathematics, social studies, or humanities, but all, whether it is physical education, whether it is sports, or it is vocational. So every stream. So the government is thinking of reforming radically teachers' education. And definitely I see a change in this. I think now shortly, even NCERT director also has said within another 3 years, the syllabus is going to be changed as per this NAP. New NCF would be again formulated, and thereafter new syllabus would come down, which would be again a reduced syllabus where teachers are able to focus on the skills, and teachers are able to make the education also enjoy, so that there will be experiential learning taking place in the class. It is not just completing the syllabus. Right now, the syllabus is so much, teachers cannot focus on this. So all these factors where there is no enjoyment in this job, so teachers are what you call, one is financial growth, second is professional growth, third, the children are becoming stagnant in the class. The people, those who want to opt for this stream, were not choosing. So now this education policy, if implemented appropriately, I think more and more people would be coming in this profession.
Thank you, sir. It was nice to listen to your view on NEP, specifically as the leader of an institution and somebody who works in the education field for last 40 years. Before I come to you for the next question, I think Lata ma'am has something to ask Arpita ma'am. So over to you, Lata ma'am.
Arpita ma'am, since you counsel higher education students, can you share 3 major expectations they have from teachers?
The major expectation from teachers are, again, do not burden us with assignments. Because, and of course over here, we have a process of like continuous internal assessment. And what happens is students are expected to not just focus on academics, there's extracurricular activities, there's internships, so there's a lot which is there. And especially now with everything going online, their expectations are like, you know, can we have less time online? Can we have more time, like, you know, to actually learn by ourselves? What they are expecting is basic concepts, theories be explained to us, and let there be a little bit of self-learning also happening. So that is a kind. And the other thing is, like I said, they want application-oriented teaching, more student-centric, and not just, you know, the teacher coming in and giving their lecture a one-sided thing. That is not what they're looking at for sure. And last but not the least, placement is something which they expect the institute or the college to give them. So these are the 3 main things.
Wonderful, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Arpita ma'am. So that brings me back to Nicholas Kuria sir with a question which is somewhat related to this. You know, we earlier asked Arpita ma'am about life skills, and we know that CBSE speaks extensively about life skills, even ICSE do.
and SSC speaks it in terms of value education, personality development. Now, when we were listening to Kamini Rege ma'am also, she said we need to shift from rote learning to student learning. So how do you think as a leader, there is government definitely looking into it and has increased the GDP to 6% and is going to focus extensively on teacher grooming. But currently, you as a leader, how do you contribute into the teacher development? And do you take these considerations into mind when you talk to your teachers, groom them as a leader? How do you do that? Over to you, Nicholas, sir.
As I said in the previous questions, teachers' development is very important, and every institution, it is very important to focus on teachers' growth. If I see in my school, so definitely it is also not something new. It's also here also is very, very important. Now, what we do in the teachers' growth, now here, what is important is keeping the teachers tuned and make them enjoy what they do. It's very, very easy to say, we make them enjoy what they do. So what is important is giving them regular motivational, what you call incentives. Incentives do not come always in the form of kindness. So incentives can be small little incentives. Maybe when they do a small work, we appreciate, as Dr. Tushar Guha always says, that gratitude. When we express whatever they do, maybe when we show that happiness, appreciate that, so they feel great. And when they go back to your class, definitely that is getting translated into the happiness, and that happiness is transferred to the children, and they make children also, they also appreciate children, what they do. Now, if as a leader, I don't appreciate their work, maybe I reprimand, I maybe may not reprimand, I do not show any sign of appreciation. So teacher definitely will be disappointed. So for a day or two, maybe sometime for a week, he or she would think why that work is not appreciated. They've done so much. Now what has gone wrong? Now teacher is going to think and break her or his head on that. So it is very important for school leaders to think teachers' growth in various ways. It is not only financial growth, not only in kind. These incentives always need not be, it will come through money. These incentives, there are hundreds of incentives, maybe more than 90% of the things would come, what you call with value, not with money. So as leader, we need to facilitate each and everyone. We understand sometimes as human beings, we lose temper. Maybe sometimes we might express our displeasure. Maybe sometimes it may not be the way it is expected. It goes because we are all human beings. But having said that, something goes wrong, maybe thereafter I call that person, maybe the teacher. When I say, okay, this is what was done, this is what I said, now teacher will feel nice. Otherwise, she is going to take that burden at home. Now from school, if this person is taking that burden home, again, I'm transferring that burden at home. So now again, it is going to affect their professional growth. Now, these small little values are very important. So we need to understand as leaders. So many times, because as principals or directors, we are all busy in the admin work. We forget, maybe sometimes when they come, they want to express something because we do not look at their face or we do not try to understand because we are busy in our work. Because emotionally or maybe emotionally we get blocked because we are looking into our paper, thinking of our own work. That is where things go wrong. As principal, we need to take care of administration. It's very important. Without administration, school cannot run or institution cannot run. In the meantime, we need to take care of the etiquettes, soft skills, and the emotional growth of students and the teacher. Emotional growth of students can take place better by taking care of teachers' emotional growth in the institution. As it is said again, that when you get into that as the 21st century skills like critical thinking and communication, moving of information, collecting information is very important. Now, what is this critical thinking? Now, if I go back to my own childhood, when I went to the riverside, my father did not give me some what you call lifeguard or something. He just pushed me in the water. I didn't know what has to be done. I learned how to swim. A life skill was learned gradually. Then he said, okay, this can be, then I had to just, not in deep water, shallow water. So later on, we learned how to swim. I remember another experience, since I come from coastal area, there are a lot of coconut trees. My father made me to climb a small coconut tree, kept a ladder, and he removed the ladder. I had to come down without the ladder. So it was very difficult. I looked down, I cried, I'm going to fall down. He said, nothing is going to happen, I'm here. Again, I cried, I'm going to fall down. Maybe I was in 4th or 5th at that time. He said, nothing is going to happen, I'm there. Even if you fall, I'll catch you. So I was confident. So that confidence building, hand holding was done. Now in today's education, this is missing. So today, when you speak about creativity, it is all taken over by technology. Technology has killed creativity. Now, I didn't know what was snow when I was in grade 1 or 2. I didn't know what was that ice. I had to imagine. I didn't know what was that autumn season, what was winter, because in coastal, the winter is very, 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 we don't have that. It's always, it is like summer season, always we sweat. So there we have to imagine, there was creativity. Now this is missing today. Today everything is there, you can view, you visualize, and we say creativity. Now creativity should come out of the box. We create everything from within the existing. But earlier times, creativity was so much. So this is the disadvantage of technology. Technology has killed creativity. In the meantime, there are advantages. I don't blame technology. There are so many advantages. Technology is helping professionally go ahead, creative persons or artists, all others. Now even teachers for that matter. Now when we introduce technology in our school as a leader, so there are changes. So initially there used to be a lot of reluctance. Now teachers are taken for granted. Okay, change is going to be there. It's not that difficult, so we can do this. Even now, during this lockdown, during this pandemic, suddenly in the last week of March, when this online teaching was introduced, teachers were blank what we had to do. Maybe few of them knew only how to operate their basic computers. Now suddenly they had to handle all this. So we had training programs, there was hand holding, there was guidance, a lot of webinars were conducted, and over a period of time, so when they, I think on the first class, when they went in the class, they were very, very reluctant because someone was watching them. And so that was, they were feeling very low. Then again we said, don't worry, we are also in the same boat. So when all of us are on the same boat, nothing to worry. All of us are learning to swim. So let's swim together. When all of us swim together, maybe if there is need, someone can hold your hand and make you reach the shore. So this is how we learn. Now they don't feel reluctant. The changes are accepted easily. Yes, there can be certain reluctance for any change, but overall, teachers accept that change easily. So as a leader, what is important for me is I need to make things simple, not complicated or sophisticated. Even if certain things are difficult, if I communicate in a simple language, simple way, the way everyone understands, there would be motivation, everyone would feel simple. And let's move from simple to complex. And from there, let's make problem solving. And let's give various problems and children would solve. So this is how things are done. That is what I feel as an educational leader, we need to handhold teachers in their creativity, in their way of looking, thinking out of the box.
Wonderful, sir. You know, one more thing I realized when you said about teachers coping with this technology challenge, I think the reason that they could cope up so quickly because they are used to these eventualities as a child. They were not getting everything easily. Technology was not so much at their tender age to get all the answers at a click of a button. I think that's why they could cope up with this challenge very quickly. I could actually see Kamini Rege ma'am having a lot of expressions when both Arpita ma'am and Nicholas sir were speaking. So I'm sure you have a point or two.
Yeah, just one or two points. Yes,
I know, yes, please do.
Definitely. I was anyways going to ask you to.
I could see that. Yes, yes, yes.
The only thing that I must say here is that, again, I will bring it to our education system. Practically, I think when I was studying, or probably most of you were studying, you were never given the course outline, how many marks are there, what is the categorization of what is the composition of unit test versus this. We were studying because we wanted to study. That was the aim. And this is what used to happen when I was doing my training also, whether it was teacher training or whatever, I was never given that this work you are doing for this many marks. Today, the generation is only working for marks. So practically we are preparing them for the end result. So what they are doing is they are actually reducing certain things. अच्छा, ये अगर हमने omit कर दिया तो ये minus इतना problem नहीं होगा. वो omit कर दिया. So practically they are not wanting to gain everything and learn things. It's okay. They may be difficult. There may be some simple, some very simple things, but that's not how the division is. Right now, the context is that मुझे pass होना है तो मुझे कितना पढ़ना है. This is what and that's the mindset of the individual. So therefore, they don't want to change. And easy way out is anyways, phone pe answer mil jata hai, mobile pe answer mil jata hai. If I'm not writing also today in the class, I know my mother will take it from somebody on the WhatsApp. एक दो print out ले लेंगे, हो गया मेरा answer ready. This is the disadvantage which we have created for our own students, whether it is parents, whether it is teacher, whether it is whatever. Third important point I want to mention here is that a lot of workload of teacher is going in vain, because if I have 40 students, if I have 40 notebooks to correct for every batch of student, maybe 5th standard, 6th standard, 7th standard, I'm sitting and only correcting those things. I don't know whether it's becoming a robotic thing. Where do I have the chance and time for creativity, thinking, bringing about these challenges? My whole concern is that right now, probably, when we don't have any direct unit tests or things like that, now the teachers are thinking really wide. I will just share one example here. One of the teacher of one of the schools, I'm not going to name the school, but she asked, sir, ये जो ऊपर hover होते हैं ना लोग check करने के लिए कि what is it called? I'm forgetting the name. Those हाँ,
automatic
see वो लोग drones ma'am. One of the teacher happened to say that to the principal, sir, can I not have a drone? He said, for what? He's saying, एक drone अगर हमको मिल जाएगा, तो we will take the drone to the fire station and बच्चों को virtually, अभी तो हमारे पास सब virtual चल रहा है, we can show the virtually fire station क्या है, या police station कैसे दिखता है. We are not able to take the children. Photograph से कितना दिखाएंगे, pictures से कितना दिखाएंगे, video से. So this would be a live thing. Somebody will talk to them. Imagine, is this not creativity? This is creativity. I think it's a wonderful thought.
Absolutely,
at least that the teacher is thinking about it. Implement ho nahi ho, that is a different question. One teacher actually told her जो झाड़ मतलब जो गार्डनिंग करने के लिए उसके पास आता था, उसके पास मल्टीपल प्लांट्स थे, उसने बोला आप है ना मेरे को एक वीडियो लेके भेजो, मेरे को सारे गुलाब के कलर्स का चाहिए एक. So he sent the videos and she uploaded them while she was talking about biology or botanical some concept that she was talking about creepers and flowers and how the buds grow into whatever her concept was. This is what is creativity. I am only looking at it in every era, whether it's technology or non-technology. I think it is important. जब हम block हो जाते हैं तो हम सोचना शुरू कर देते हैं. जब easily मिलना शुरू हो जाता है तो हम नहीं सोचते हैं.
Absolutely.
That's what I feel.
Not the right way.
Girish sir, I just want to add one point, if I could.
Yeah.
Taking from Dr. Rege, exactly what you said, that today we have the parents who are willing to take all the materials and do it, give it to the child. So the onus on the child is lesser. Ki mummy kar degi mere liye jo bhi aana hai, because the parents are more worried about how much marks or how many marks will my child get. One of the recently we were doing life skill programs, which is an online. Right now everything is online. So this is for the 3rd standard. So we were doing a session on story weaving, which is a creative concept. And so while we explained the concept, I talked to the children and then told them now we will make the story. So the children talked about there is a king and there's a queen and the story is moving. So the chance of the next child to add the 3rd line. So the child, I asked, Beta, are you going to tell me or do you want to tell it after some time? So the child said, the child is quiet. I can see the child looking up somewhere. And then the child unmutes the mic and says, and the queen is pregnant. So I'm like, is that your line or is somebody prompting you? So
yeah.
I don't want to hear your this thing. You don't worry. Even if you don't say something, it's fine. But you don't need to. So precisely what you said, Dr. Rege, is that it's coming from somewhere. So that child's thought process has actually got stopped. The second point, as far as NEP, NEP is concerned, I think the fact that the way Dr. Koya mentioned that horizontal growth is required, I think that's fantastic if we actually have that final implementation of interdisciplinary approaches. Because when I did my first PhD in sociology, and my subject was dance in the urban culture, and it was a very difficult subject to do because everybody said dance. So why don't you go to a dance university and do it? And sociology didn't want to touch dance, and dancers didn't want to touch sociology. So finally, of course, I got it with Dr. Sharid Bhaumik from Mumbai University itself, because at that point, an interdisciplinary approach of, dancers are a part of society, but wo no do alag-alag nazariye mein dekhna, that we got to bracket it.
We
separate.
compartmentalize them, yeah. True.
Absolutely. But the fact that they're an integral part of each other. So with this new thought, hopefully that, with the implementation, we'll go to a new direction. That's all. Thank you.
So thank you, Dr. Nuna ma'am. Before we wind up, a last question to all my panel members. One line answer. What is it that you are going to concentrate on through this NEP policy? What is that one thing that you think you will focus upon, talk about majorly from this NEP policy?
Teacher training.
So Kamini ma'am is teacher training. Nicholas sir? Sir, unmute yourself. Yes, sir.
So it's definitely classroom transaction and teachers training.
Okay. Arpita ma'am.
Me, I will still stand by empowering individuals, whether teacher or student, and touching lives.
Thank you. Thank you. So I think Suresh sir has got disconnected anyway. But with this, we come to our panel discussion. But I will urge everyone to please drop in their own point of view on this NEP policy. What is that one thing that they want to take it forward extensively? They feel it needs to be focused upon, and that will be a good read for all of us when we are able to share this video as well as the chat that we will have. So please drop in. Meanwhile, I request our committee member, Madam Deepa Desai, to please give the vote of thanks. Over to you, Deepa.
Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay. I really feel very honored and privileged to give this vote of thanks, propose a vote of thanks. And for that, I need to thank the Open Forum for Principals, the entire committee, for giving me this opportunity. Today's day is a very important day and a very special day. I can say on the lighter note, it is a double dhamaka. Double dhamaka because it is the fourth online session of the meeting for Open Forum for Principals, and also the birth anniversary of our beloved Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, whose birth anniversary we celebrate as Teachers' Day across the country. So on behalf of the entire team of Open Forum for Principals, I wish everybody a very, very happy Teachers' Day.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, I would like to thank Girish sir for starting the session and setting the ball rolling. He gave us an insight, all of us, an insight into the initiatives taken by the Open Forum for Principal, even during this crisis, and we have tried to reach out to all the areas, all the sectors where it was possible for us. And Dr. Guha, it's whatever you say about Dr. Guha is less. Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Guha, for really, really enlightening all of us with your wonderful talks and whatever you spoke to us about everyone, being warriors, but we being warriors who bring up, who raise the spirits. Doctors as warriors, the Safai Karamcharis as warriors, we have heard, but teachers as warriors who raise the spirits. Thank you for appreciating the teacher fraternity for this. Thank you so much. Your speech, your talk, your whatever you speak has always been an inspiration for all of us. And coming to the panel discussion, today's panel discussion was a wonderful panel discussion. Our topic, innovation, inclusion, and inquiry, taking into consideration the NEP. Well, whatever was said was too much, and the takeaway for every one of us was excellent. I would start with Dr. I would start with Mr. Dr. Suresh Nair, the convener for KP West Ward. He's the convener and principal of Vivek Vidyalaya, and the chief convener for Maharashtra for the Open Forum of Principals. Sir, you enlightened us with the challenges that are faced by the conveners in this pandemic. You also enlightened us with the fact that in the new education policy does not mean the old concept, but the extension or the extended concept where we are sharing resources, sharing our whatever we can share, and making sure that everyone gains from each other's resources. You have also highlighted the point that there are certain problems that are faced because of this online teaching, and there are around 40% of the students who cannot avail of this facility. And I was touched by your mention that you are planning to tackle this problem once this pandemic comes to an end, when this online teaching comes to an end, and you will take care of this problem. Thank you, sir, for really thinking of those who could not avail this opportunity. Thank you. Okay. Our next panelist, Dr. Kamini Rege, Assistant Professor for College of Home Science, Nirmala Niketan, and Founder National Committee Member, ECA and APER. Madam, your presentation was excellent. In fact, in a nutshell, you gave us what the essence of NEP. And I was also impressed, wherein being a facilitator for higher education, you laid emphasis on basics, the foundation. You put across, you stressed that a foundation has to be very, very strong. Very rightly said, without a strong foundation, we cannot have a strong building. Thank you so much for bringing this. I also was very much touched upon wherein you said that the burden of the teaching load, I wouldn't say burden, the teaching load of teachers was like a hurdle. You gave that as, you enlightened us with that. It was actually a hurdle, because now in the present situation, we see that teachers are becoming more creative. They really think of ways and means of seeing to it that they can get across to their students in the best possible way. So we need to work on something wherein the workload of the teachers is minimized. Thank you so much, madam, for your insight. Our next panelist, Ms. Arpita Ghosh. You counselor, Christ University and corporate trader. The university is deemed to be a university. Okay. Madam, your focus was basically you laid focus on life skills, which at Rityanjali also we lay focus on soft skills, because it is these soft skills that help a person to deal with any adversity that comes in his or her life. Thank you for your inputs on this particular topic. You really have enlightened all of us here that how it is the life skills that can make or break a person. Thank you, madams. Thank you for your inputs. Our next panelist and the host of this this wonderful session would not be possible unless you would have hosted this. First and foremost, let me thank you for hosting this meet, sir, you and your team, and making it possible to have such wonderful session. And this grand meeting would never have been possible without your hosting it. Thank you so much for that. Again, sir, you also focused on teacher development. Your emphasis on not only vertical development of the teachers, but horizontal development is very, very important. You mentioned that it is very important, and you rightly mentioned people with high qualifications at times are not really very good teachers unless and until they are exposed to various training programs and professional growth. Thank you, sir, for your input on this particular aspect. Revati ma'am, I think she has got disconnected. Revati ma'am took us back in time. Without a time machine, she took us back in time, and we went through our journey backwards, and she gave us a focus, a vision, a mission to think about. The activity was excellent, ma'am, and I'm thankful to you for taking us back in time. This vote of thanks would be incomplete without mentioning Lata ma'am and Girish ma'am.
I think ma'am's this got frozen video. So I continue there from there. So thank you, Lata ma'am, for co-hosting with me the panel discussion at such a short notice. And I also extend my thanks to Deepa Desai ma'am for giving the vote of thanks. Once again, wishing all of you a very happy Teachers' Day. We do look forward to meeting you all soon in the next OFP meet. Of course, we plan to have it after September, that is in the month of October. So thank you so much once again. Thank you, Nicholas sir, for being the host for today's meet. See you soon, all of you. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.